the news tonight, GWI records increase in revenue, defaulters to face courts. Lusignan prison escape plot thwarted. Teen jailed for attempting to murder minibus driver, and in sport, Amazon Warriors unveiled team and a major sponsor. Tristan Jules will have all the details later on. This is our Friday, August 3rd edition of the NCN News. I am Leroy Brummel. Thank you for joining us. Over 1,000 customers who have failed to pay their water bills could find themselves before the courts. This was announced at a Guyana Water Incorporated press conference on Friday morning. The company also announced a 20% increase in revenue collected for the first half of this year. GWI's Managing Director, Dr. Richard Van West Charles, attributed the increased revenue to the agency's aggressive debt collection efforts. Christian Josiah has details.
The Guyana Water Incorporated for the first half of this year received some $2 billion in revenue compared to $1.8 billion accrued last year. GWI's aggressive debt collection efforts this year was credited for the 20% increase.
We were able to do better data analysis by splitting the entire company into zones. We can identify street by street the delinquent customers, and then we can chase behind the revenue using a combination of both aggressive tactics and also the soft approach.
However, GWI is yet to collect some $3 billion in outstanding payments owed for previous years. And over 1,000 non-compliant customers are likely to face the court for non-payment.
And we have started to issue demand letters and also file actions. We started in Berbice, and in fact this morning we got 3 judgments in Berbice against customers who owe us in excess of $100,000. We received lists from the East Coast, Georgetown, over the river, which is West Demerara, and Regina. So we're going to start working on those lists from this month to reach out to those customers via our demand letters, and based on the response we get, we then take it to the next level, which is to file either in the magistrate's court or in the high court.
GWI's managing director also revealed that his agency is sharing information on non-compliant customers to Credit Info Guyana, which could make it improbable for them to acquire loans from any local financial institution.
So once you owe us and you go to the bank or you go to courts to have access to credit, your name comes up as a bad customer. So for mortgages, borrowing money, your name is now available to the banking system.
Meanwhile, GWI is encouraging customers to repair internal leakages to their plumbing system. Reporting for the NCN News, Christian Josiah.
Now, security at the Lusignan prison has been increased after officers managed to disrupt an escape plot by 2 prisoners between Thursday night and Friday morning. Both prisoners are charged with murder and committed to stand trial in the High Court. Acting Director of Prisons Gladwin Samuel said during security checks, it was discovered that a steel bar was cut while attempts were being made to cut another. The police have been called in to conduct an investigation into how the inmates came to be in possession of cutting tools. Now, the preparation of Guyana's first Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, the EITI report, will begin next month. This comes after United Kingdom-based firm was hired to complete the report. Rifa Bacchus reports.
UK-based firm Moore Stevens has been contracted to compile Guyana's first report to the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, EITI. Minister of Natural Resources Raphael Trotman indicated that this will begin in September.
They couldn't get here fast enough, but I would expect that by September they'll be mobilized.
Minister Trotman expressed confidence in the firm given that it has done work for Guyana in the past.
They have done work in Guyana before, particularly in preparing us for submission of our EITI application. So they're quite familiar both with the issue and with Guyana, and they were assessed and found to be the best in terms of all that was required from the terms of reference that had been advertised.
Guyana's first report to the EITI is due in April 2019. For the NCN News, Arifa Bacchus.
Now, the Natural Resources Multi-Stakeholder Committee will be put together next week. Minister of Natural Resources Raphael Trotman said the national body will meet quarterly to discuss issues that give rise to tensions related to community relations, mining, forestry and water, among others. The body is in keeping with Article 13 of the Constitution, which addresses inclusive democracy and the sharing and exchanging of ideas. The Ghana Civil Aviation Authority, the GCCA, is preparing to host the largest conference in Ghana's aviation history with 192 countries slated to attend. On the agenda for discussion are opportunities for investment, trade, aviation, tourism and infrastructure within the region. Nakasi Logan filed this report.
With just 109 days to go before Guyana hosts its first ever ICAO air transport meeting, the Guyana Civil Aviation Authority says it is ready to welcome participants, investors and sponsors for the three-day meeting. It is slated for November 21 to 23, 2018 at the Arthur Chung Convention Center. Director General of the GCAA, Egbert Field, says the conference being held under the theme Promoting Connectivity for Sustainable Air Transport Development is expected to attract some 400 to 600 attendees.
Our sessions will start with a presentation on maximizing economic benefits of aviation in the region. Session 3, liberalization of air cargo, regional and global. This session will deal with how to break down some of the obstacles that hinder the free movement of cargo.
Meanwhile, sponsors are being welcomed to get on board for the event, with Caribbean Airline already joining the Platinum category and Sol Aviation Guyana in the Silver category. Sol donated $1 million towards the meeting, while the regional leading carrier promises to ensure flight availability.
We are here to deliver the same objectives, that is, consistent service, and to showcase the best that the Caribbean has to offer. As the leading carrier for the region and our commitment to Guyana, I want to say that we will continue to provide guests coming into Guyana with that high level of service expected. We are not.
The conference will also feature the third meeting of the African diaspora on the final day of the conference. Last year, Guyana accepted the invitation to host the meeting on request of the ICAO president. Nakasia Logan, NCN News.
UNICEF teams up with the GDC to help Venezuelan refugees. The Civil Defense Commission, along with UNICEF, is procuring relief supplies to meet the basic needs of Venezuelan migrants in regions 1, 7 and 9. Scores of Venezuelans have been entering Guyana to escape the current hardships in their homeland. Relief supplies for shelter, water, sanitation and hygiene are being procured within Guyana to the value of over $6 million. The CDC will deploy the relief supplies within the coming weeks to the regional administrations for storage and distribution. These supplies are estimated to benefit more than 900 persons in Region 1 to test the mercury levels. The samples were taken from different parts of the river to ascertain the spread of the contamination, according to GWI's water quality head, Dion Anderson. They were also sent to two independent laboratories, Kaizen Laboratory Services in Trinidad and the Institute of Applied Science and Technology here in Guyana.
And within another week or so, those results will be made available so that we can see if the situation has abated or what other further actions will need to be implemented. So within a week, we'll have the results and be able to pronounce better on the gravity of the situation.
GWI's Managing Director, Dr. Richard Van West Charles, said the company is looking to drill another well in the area to serve residents.
We are drilling another well at Turn Basin, and that should be completed in another 2 to 3 weeks, so that the situation would improve.
Dr. Van West Charles expressed interest in testing the quality of potable water sources in mining communities. Now, police are investigating the murder of Ronsley Clark, 21, a mason of Lot C-118 Temeri East Bank, Demerara. The murder was committed around 19 hours 30 on Thursday at Seafield Access Road, Sophia, on the east coast of Demerara, allegedly by a male acquaintance who is being sought. An investigation revealed that Clark was in the company of his girlfriend partying at a popular hangout spot in Sophia when the suspect approached, whipped out a handgun and discharged several rounds at him. The suspect fled the scene. The victim, also who received 2 gunshot wounds to the right side of his body, was taken to the GPHC in an unconscious state and pronounced dead on arrival. The Inter-American Development Bank, the IDB, is calling for greater women empowerment in Ghana since they play a vital role in development. This was stressed during a workshop on reading Women for Red Tea. Details from Arifa Bakas.
While strides have been made to include women in decision-making at various levels in Guyana, country representative of the Inter-American Development Bank, IDB, Sophie McConan believes Guyana still has a long way to go. McConan was at the time making remarks at the Forest Carbon Partnership Facilities Readying Women for RED Plus on Friday at the Pegasus Hotel. The IDB representative, however, recognized that this issue is not unique to Guyana.
Despite having slightly more women than men in Guyana's population, women are underrepresented in almost, if not all, decision-making positions, such as parliament, ministers, and local council level. And I have to note this is...
Through the RED Plus initiative, small women-led businesses will be funded so that they will stray from businesses that result in deforestation. Christina James from the Blue Flames Women Group in Region 1 is calling for more funding to be provided for the growth of these ventures.
We hope that they can help us with also tackle some of the problem with the climate change for us with the weather, and we need like dryers for a product when the weather is really bad and so on.
RED, Reducing Emissions from Deforestation and Forest Degradation, is a program which incentivizes the reduction of deforestation rates and greenhouse gases emissions. It is a framework through which developing countries are rewarded financially for any emissions reductions achieved associated with a decrease in the conversion of forests to alternate land uses. For the NCN News, Arifa Bacchus.
Now, the Guyana Elections Commission, GCOM, is urging citizens to be mindful of anonymous telephone calls requesting personal information under the pretense of the commission. GCOM said several persons have contacted the commission to query the nature of the exercise after receiving such calls. The commission is urging citizens to be extremely cautious and not to provide any information. To staying with us, the Guyana Water Incorporated is working with the Guyana Fire Service to refurbish some 600 dysfunctional fire hydrants across the country. GWI's Managing Director, Dr. Richard Van West Charles, said the agency is also seeking financial assistance to repair the water distribution system. Christian Josiah has details.
The Guyana Water Incorporated is currently working along with the Guyana Fire Service to repair some 600 dysfunctional fire hydrants across the country. GWI's Regional Manager Curtis Nile says GWI has expended over $25 million to refurbish these hydrants, even though it is not the company's mandate.
Another thing we must understand that they were vandalized, so they could not have been connected to the fire service fire hose, so we had to replace all those nipples. They are still bronze, and people go after those materials, so we put devices in places so that they could be properly secured. Not to say that they would not be able to remove them, but it would be more difficult for them to remove them.
GWI's Managing Director, Dr. Richard Van West Charles, says his agency is also seeking financial assistance to repair the water distribution system. He explained that GWI had to repair numerous breakages in the system as this affects the water pressure flowing through the hydrants.
We've been speaking to this matter for some time. This requires a major investment, and I would hope by 2021, when the oil resources may kick in, that this is a priority, because it's a major issue for the capital city.
Dr. Van West Charles explained that if there are no major breakages in the distribution system where a fire might occur, the new water hydrants will function effectively. It was noted that there is need for more hydrants as the existing ones cannot effectively serve the expanding communities. Reporting for the NCN News, Christian Josiah.
Now, the Government Analyst Food and Drug Department recently tested 87 water samples collected from 29 water processing facilities in Georgetown. These samples were analyzed for microbiological and chemical parameters to verify compliance with safety requirements. Of the 29 facilities that samples were taken from, 11 were found to be operating without a necessary license from the department. Of the 87 water samples submitting, 15 were found to be unsatisfactory. In light of this, consumers are being advised when purchasing treated water to ensure that they are properly labeled and sealed and demand to see a valid license issued by the Food and Drug Department. Now, a teen has been remanded to prison for attempting to murder a minibus driver. Nacasia Logan has details of this report and more from inside the court.
18-year-old Irvin Smith of Lot 1 South Better Hope, East Coast, Demerara, has been charged with causing grievous bodily harm with intent to murder. The court heard that on July 30, 2018 at Avenue of the Republic, Smith allegedly stabbed minibus driver James Abrams to the neck. The incident allegedly occurred over the minibus driver's refusal to transport Smith to Pleasance for free. An argument ensued and Smith stabbed the driver. He was remanded to prison by Chief Magistrate Anne McLennan until August 8 for report and fixture. Also in the court today, 3 men have been arraigned before Magistrate Fabio Azor for different robberies. 30-year-old Leonard Ali Cock, a fish cleaner, has been remanded to prison until August 17 after being charged with robbery. The court heard that on July 29, 2018, while in the company of others, he robbed Christopher Munilal of 4 silver chains valued at $74,000. Meanwhile, 19-year-old Shamar Charles of Alberton on July 27, armed with a gun, robbed Navindra Prasad of a phone valued $120,000 and $50,000 cash. The police prosecutor objected to bail on the grounds of the serious nature and gravity of the charge. Charles was remanded until August 17, 2018. And finally, a laborer of Charlestown, Georgetown, has been remanded to prison for robbery under arms. 22-year-old Odingo Haywood on July 16 at Charlestown in the company of others and armed with a gun, robbed a man whose name was given as Kadir of a gold chain valued at $340,000 and a phone valued at $250,000. The court prosecutor objected to bail based on the serious nature and gravity of the crime. Haywood was remanded to prison until August 17, 2018. Nacasia Logan, NCN News.
Well, that's it for me. Tristan Joseph comes up next with the latest sporting action in the Diamond Mineral Water.
Orders to adapt to the new ball jewel in war cricket as the sport continues to evolve.
The cricketing landscape has transformed. Cricket is now big business. Cricket is an industry. Sport is an industry. And as an industry, we need to set up systems and structures in place where we can sustain our level of participation and, as Rod said, representing and being ambassadors of our country. And in order for us to do that, we need corporate sponsors to come on board.
Meanwhile, country manager of ExxonMobil, Ron Henson, while calling on the squad to give it their all throughout the tournament, acknowledged his company's decision to come on board with the Amazon Warriors.
You guys have done over the years many things in terms of mentoring young men and women and motivational speaking, visiting schools and whatnot, and really that's fantastic. You know, not all of us, or nearly none of us can hit a century or play cricket the way these folks do, but something that we all can do is come together really to support our communities, and so I want to thank you for that.
Henson is upbeat about the Warriors' chances in this year's edition of the Hero CPL. This year, the Amazon Warriors squad will be captained by Shoaib Malik and includes the likes of Imran Tahir, Versami Parmal, Shamron Hetmaya, Davindra Bishu, Gajnan Singh, and Kimo Paul, to name a few. Since the inception of the tournament in 2013, the Amazon Warriors made it to the finals 3 times, only to fall short in each of them. The tournament runs from August 8 to September 16. For NCN Sport, I'm Eric Collymore.
Meanwhile, Amazon Warriors all-rounder and former skipper Riyad Emrit believes that this will be the year Guyana gets over the hump and captures the elusive CPL title.
I think it's a better year for us. I think we're a much balanced team this year. We're looking to go 2 steps further this year. We know it's going to be tough. I think all the teams are very well balanced, but I still think that we have a very good chance of going all the way.
That with Guyana kicking off their campaign at home, it will give them the boost needed to achieve success in the tournament. Head coach of the squad, Johan Botha, hopes to instill a level of professionalism to his side when they take to the field as he looks to guide the Warriors to the title.
Play the conditions well, play the opposition well. It's easy to say, let's just go out there and enjoy it and have fun, but, there's a lot more to it these days. Obviously, we know we're going to come up against quality opposition, and we need to be better on the night. So that's what I would say, is to be, think on your feet on the ground, and probably the team, hopefully, that reacts the best to pressure situations.
The Amazon Warriors get their CPL campaign on the way on August 9th when they take on the St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots at the Providence Stadium. The match will bowl off at 1800 hours. Now for some CAC news, Guyana's participation at the Central American and Caribbean Games officially came to an end on Thursday evening after both Troy Doris and Leslie Baird were unable to finish with medals in Colombia. Doris, who earlier this year captured gold at the Commonwealth Games, was still recovering from an injury and finished fifth with a leap of 16.43 meters in the men's triple jump. Christian Napoles Urea of Cuba won the gold with a leap of 17.34 meters. Meanwhile, Leslie Baird missed out on a medal, finishing fourth in the men's javelin with a throw of 74.72 meters. Double Olympic medalist Keyshawn Walcott of Trinidad and Tobago won the event with a distance of 84.47 meters. In rugby, Guyana, after falling to Jamaica in the quarterfinal round, ended in sixth after winning against Guatemala, but losing to Venezuela in the fifth place game. With that, Guyana will leave Colombia with one bronze medal from the women's double squash team that featured Ashley Khalil and Taylor Fernandes. Now for some football news, head coach of Guyana's national under-14 boys team, Brian Joseph, expects his side to give their all when they take to the field on Saturday against Trinidad and Tobago in Group C action of the Caribbean Football Union's Boys Challenge Series. Joseph said that while the preparation was not as thorough as that of the youth team last year, he is of the view that the young Jaguars are in fairly good place because of the work done at the GFF Scotiabank Academy Training Centers. However, Joseph noted that the nature of the tournament is not only about winning, but to focus on the development of young players across the region, including Guyana. The football coach acknowledged his side's need for experience in major tournaments. According to Joseph, the current national under-14 boys team will form next year's CONCACAF under-15 squad. Guyana is placed in Group C along with Trinidad and Tobago, Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. Now for some street football action, the Guinness Graces of the Street Football competition will culminate on Saturday, August 4th, with the four best teams battling for supremacy at the National Stadium Providence. However, with the Guyana Football Federation clamping down on the elite league players participating in such tournaments, the Guinness brand addressed the issue at a recent press conference.
When the whole thought was planning this tournament from the inception, when it came to mind, it was never for what we would call the elite football players or even the club players. The tournament was basically for the guys you would see on Sunday morning putting 2 lumps of mud in the road and playing football.
Brand manager of the Guinness brand, Lee Baptist, gave his opinion of why the problem was created in the first place.
What has happened is that over time, because of a lack of football being played, and we know that once you're football and you see a ball kicking, you would want to play. And what has happened is that players have come on board and played the street football.
In addition, Baptist shared how the street football format has aided in the progression of the sport.
What would happen is that you would have stars being born from within communities who for some reason might not be able to reach to that level, or was at that level before, but they've reached the age where they can't run a full 90-yard or whatever, so they're doing the shorter form. And in all sports now, basketball you got a 3-on-3, which is half court. It's being shown on Fox. Cricket you got a 20-20. All sports form now they do the shortened version. So we don't see a lessening in participation.
The winner of the Guinness Graces of the Streets will receive $500,000, second $250,000, third $200,000, and fourth $100,000. Action is set to kick off from 2000 hours. The GT Beer Keep Your Five Alive final is set as Tiger Bay and Sparta Boss will lock horns in the championship match of this year's tournament after semi-final matches on Thursday at the National Gymnasium. Eric Collymore reports.
The two teams en route to the final were forced to battle hard in pursuit of earning a shot at the GT Beer crown in their semi-final matchup on Thursday evening at the National Gymnasium. In match 1, Tiger Bay took on Back Circle in what turned out to be a grueling encounter between the two sides. During the match, both Tiger Bay and Back Circle struggled to capitalize on the very few chances earned in the game, with the first half ending at 0-0. However, with the game winding down, Tiger Bay's Dion Alfred fired in his side's lone goal in the 19th minute, securing a final spot. Meanwhile, in the feature encounter, Spartacus and Leopold Street treated fans to a highly entertaining match that needed a penalty shootout to decide the winner. Led by Gregory Richardson, Spartacus netted 4 goals in the match, but were unable to keep Leopold Street at bay, as their opponents were equally impressive to net 4 of their own. With the match tied at the end of regulation, Sparta eventually made their way into the final, earning a 3-2 victory on penalty kicks. The final is set for August 11. For NCN Sport, I'm Eric Collymore.
With that, we've come to the end of another edition of the NCN News. Before we go, here is a recap of the top stories. GWI records increase in revenue, defaulters to face courts. Lusignan prison escape plot thwarted, teen remanded for attempting to murder.